on with the emails. So I know we have a few issues with some of the emails. Let me just check my shirt for dog hairs because I picked my dog up and cuddled him, and as you do, because I'm a nice person, but he keeps shedding hairs all over me. It's very, very hot in Texas at the moment. Martha said she almost clicked the go live button because I clicked it as well. Producer Martha, as always, in the background, she's very, very busy traveling all around the world as well. Like myself, on September the 5th in Brazil, and in Porto in October, I think, as well. And Denmark is coming up, and all sorts of other things. I'll be traveling around meeting people. There is no escape from here. I will be there. We have got a bit of a mixed bag this week. Lots of things happening. The email that went out today, one of the sessions which is describing that, I'm going to just pull my little session thing up, was with Jason Chapman from the UK Developers Group. I think the email description was something like Google Cloud or something. That's absolutely 100% wrong. That is not what is happening. It is something completely different. He's going to be coming with me live at noon my time, so that's 6 p.m. UK time. And he's going to join me in the studio, and we're going to talk about developer groups and communities and things like Discord groups and Telegram groups and all the rest of it. If you're into any of those platforms like Slack, Discord, Facebook, Instagram even, which is very, very big, Instagram and TikTok in Brazil, for example, then Jason and I will talk about that. We've got, actually, we agreed a whole bunch of things we would probably talk about, because him and I, when we get together, talk nonsense, two Brits, and, you know, we would talk about the weather and tea and cricket and CrossFit, because he's a super fit guy, but we will be doing that. Paul Jackson says, wow, I was able to just bring up the site. I'm just going to minimize my chat window there so I can see it. But just be able to bring up the Embarcadero YouTube site. And there you are. Yes, I am. Hello. Now, we're not actually starting the pre-recorded sessions with live Q&A until another hour. I'm going to demo some cross-platform development. I'm actually going to show you an iOS app, a Mac app, but same principle works on iOS. The reason I'm not showing the iOS app is because Apple, being the dear hearts that they are, I went to plug my phone in this morning, and all of a sudden my Mac wants to update Xcode. So Apple, always the same. Great kit, but really gets in the way of me doing demos. I should plug it in like 5 hours before and everything will be fine. I have a very, very fast internet connection here, 2.5 gig up and down synchronous. And even so, it still has to download many gigabytes from Apple, and I can't do that and stream and do all the other things as well. So let me say to salut, bon matin, or it's après-midi now, no less. To Patrick Prematin, who's nearly always here. He has absolutely zero life. He always has to be in the chat. And we saw him last week do some games development. And we'll talk about some other things shortly. But he's very prolific developer and really great guy. Super guy to meet in person. I've met him in person. But he's always in the chat. So all of you in the chat, say hi to Patrick whenever you see him, because we don't actually pay him to do this. He actually does this voluntarily for the benefit of the community. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart, Patrick. You're the Spirit of Delphi Award winner, but I personally appreciate what you do, and I know the community do too. We've never had a winner 2 years in a row, but you never know. But as he says, if you're on YouTube now, click on the like button and click on the subscribe button. I think it's this end, actually. Yeah, maybe this end. That little button that says subscribe, and then the bell comes up. We won't know what you've done. We won't know you've subscribed. All we will know is our subscriber count will go up. But the benefit is to you. What will happen is that YouTube will notify you and say, hey, Embarcadero Technologies have gone live. Or if you're on one of the other channels, because we're broadcasting to 11 different sources, including Ultra Edit, whole tomato, yellowfin, and a few others. Yellowfin will be here this week, and so will Ultra Edit. So going out to their channels too, but just click on like and subscribe down there, and you'll get notified. We won't know who you are. We can't spam you. We can't try and force you to buy something. So it's completely safe. And Patrick says, hi, Ian and Martha, of course. Yes, Martha is always here. And she is, in fact, still in the background, of course, doing her thing. She works extremely hard. I mean, all of the team do. I know I'm the guy that is on the screen and chat and talk nonsense for hours on end, but that's the easy part. The hard part is all the other things that happen, the social media team, the marketing team, the admin and management. I don't know what you call them, but the people that Martha works with, she works very hard coordinating this. It would be a complete mess, even more than the problems we sometimes have if I was doing it. Trust me, she makes me look good. She's extra talented at all these kind of things. So yeah, salut Patrick, and hello to you too. Who else we got? Buhavsby. I recognize you from last week. I think I'm not sure whether you're a new person or not, but I know you were here last week as well. So hello to you as well. And who else have we got? Yes, of course. Right line. Hello world. Very, very good. Yeah, Van Halla. We've got all sorts of people that join us every week. Hello everybody, says Paul Jackson. And he actually said as well that the links were not working on the page from last week. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. We're going to try and make sure that in the future we get this right. It's been a coordinated thing. We are trying to use codegear.com to help with that, and promote things via codegear.com. I'll put that down the bottom there. Whoop, there. Boop, boop. Ding, ding, ding. But code to codegear.com, and it talks about all our products and all sorts of other things as well. But you've come via the email links, and you've got there from that thing. What have we got? So let's see. I think that's said hi to most people on the chat. Oh yes, I forgot Terry. Hello, Terry, from Canada. And don't say what part of Canada, but it's colder than Texas right now. In Dallas it's 32 degrees centigrade, so it's like 90 something Fahrenheit. Yesterday I was going to go and cut my lawn and the actual temperature outside was 105, so 42 centigrade, and the feels like temperature was 111, which is 45 centigrade, I think. And they were issuing warnings over the phone saying that this is dangerous levels of heat, excessive heat warnings, how we call it. So yeah, I'm not going to cut the grass in that. I have gone out before in like 105 heat and cut the grass, and I'm very careful. But Dallas is hot, so if you're out there in the heat and you don't have the benefit of air conditioning like I do, because actually most of the time I feel quite chilled. Because of the air conditioner. I know around the world there are many of you that struggle with things like water supplies and electricity being unreliable and the internet being unreliable. And not in Canada. Canada's pretty cool, but plenty of countries where it's a struggle from day to day to just do normal things. I don't stand on privilege at all. I totally understand that there are many of our people watching maybe in different circumstances to ourselves, even us calling it Dev Days of Summer. We had a big discussion about that because half the people that are watching, of course, it's winter. The Brazilians are the other side of the equator, and it's not summer for them at all. So it's like, what are you talking about, summer? Gary, however, it is summer for him in California. I love California. You walk around there and there are orange trees and things like that. It's a bit like in Spain where you get, wonderful, fruit growing and things like that. Right. So who else have we got? Oh, Dawn says hello. Nolan says hello again from Taipei. Hello, Nolan. Hope you're doing well. And Don, I hope you're doing well. He says Don says he's new to Delhi. I think he means Delphi. But you may be in Delhi, I don't know. But I suspect not. But new to Delphi and already learning a lot. Great. Good. I'm going to show you some things in a moment. And Troy says, hello from Troy from Iowa. Yes, we talked about Iowa last week. I know it very well, having lived in there. So great stuff. And Terry says, Toronto area GTA and blissfully cooler than Texas. Actually, I really like the hot weather. My wife hates it. My wife was born she was actually born in Peoria, Illinois, but she lived in Nebraska for a large period of her life, as did my daughter. She's 24 now. And so they like the snow. And the first day I emigrated to the United States was in 2009 on the 1st of November. The 2nd of November, it was the worst winter snowstorm they'd had for 35 years. And I looked outside and thought, oh my word, I've moved to the Arctic. Wow, Nebraska doesn't mess about when it comes to snow. And actually, they're not the worst state. I mean, Minnesota and New York get very deep snow, but yeah, I like the warm weather. I don't like sliding around in my car and in ice and things like that. I'm quite happy to walk outside and bake to death. Talking of being hot, hello from Libya. I hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful country and very, very hot. Brian, not quite so hot and sweaty in Suffolk. My father is passed away now, but he lived in Norfolk, funny enough, so I know that area pretty well. I love the Wash area and around the East Coast as well of England. And of course, Dinos is from Brazil, so bom dia. I think it's still dia for you, maybe afternoon, but I'm not sure. And it's beautiful. I'll be in Sao Paulo on the 5th. And Terry says last week averaged 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It averaged 103, I think, here last week. We had hotter and colder, but 103 Fahrenheit, which is 40 degrees centigrade. It's pretty warm. What else have we got? Hi, driving home from such and such. I'm now getting little bips come up on my phone, so I'm going to tell them to go away. Close that window there. Goodbye. Yeah. Hi, driving home from Melbourne's ADUG meeting and listening in. Yeah, good. By the way, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. I know Jeff as well. I've chatted with him before. Hello from Italy. Ciao to Italy. Please join us. Right. Well, we haven't got anything. We didn't actually have anything planned from 10 to 11 today because we've got fewer sessions today. Let me just briefly go through the sessions that we have got planned, and then I'm going to also do a little bit of a demonstration of Rad Studio for a second as well, because that's what we're talking about in the week in and out. So today, apart from me now, we have got at 11 a.m. US Central Time, which is 5 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. UTC, I think. Simplifying the Cloud with Delphi by Daniel Fernandez. He is from Aquasoft in Brazil. You probably saw Dion last week and his colleagues. There are so many great Brazilian developers, but Daniel will be coming in to talk about how to simplify the cloud with Delphi. I actually don't know what that topic is about, which was good, but the video's there, so that's going to be good. And I think Daniel was also joining us live for a conversation about that. Then at 12 noon, 6 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. UTC time, Jason Chapman is joining us, and he's going to talk about the UK Dev Group, and we're also going to talk about some of the other groups as well, the community that we've got. There are lots of different communities around the world in different languages. So whatever your bag, if you speak Arabic or you speak French, or you're more comfortable speaking Portuguese, for example, then we'll show you how to get to the details of some of those groups. If you run a group for developers and you want us to feature you on the website, please email me, and I'll put my email address up here. And you can email me, let me know, and I will feature your group on the community pages of our website so that you get more joiners or more members. That's the word I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be in English. We've got pages translated in German, French, Portuguese, and Japanese, I think, as well, and Spanish. I'm not sure what all the other languages are. So if you do run a UK user group or Spanish user group or something like that, please email me and let me know the details, and I'll talk to you and we'll get you put up on the website. And the same is true of if you're thinking about starting one, let me know and we'll try and arrange something. We'll promote it, and we may even email a list of these out to users to get them to join, because I'm very keen to try and grow the community a little bit and get some new faces in, because I know there are plenty out there. You don't have to use a paid version of Rad Studio. You can use that one if you qualify, and you can use the community edition. Nobody will mind. And actually, for the UK Dev Group, you don't even have to be a Delphi or C++ programmer. They welcome all sorts of developers. It's developers in general that they're looking for to discuss. But if you're thinking about starting a group, let me know, and we'll help you. And if you do run a group and you'd like me to appear virtually, I'm not necessarily going to appear in person unless you're in Dallas or somewhere like that. But if you do want me to join, I will come to your meetings virtually. I'll appear like I am now on the screen and answer questions and maybe present a session on something as well. And I know people like Jim McKeith and a few others are just as keen. They'll actually probably do that as well. Jim is touring around a bit and going to a few places in America, but because he works for GDK, they have contacts in Europe and all over the place. So, please let us know. What else we've got? Oh, hi from Romania. Cool. We have a lot of Romanians in England as well. So it's good. Tom Soft, I think you're the first person to say hi from Romania so far. Some obscure country called Scotland, which nobody's ever heard of. And I have to say that as an Englishman. But hi, Alan. How you doing? A bit of rain. My father was a Geordie, so it was almost Scottish, like a fake Scottish person. But that's great. And Daniel is saying good morning to you. He's around as well. Daniel Fernando Gonzalez Peña from Colombia. Fantastic. I'm really, I'm very grateful for all of you to join and do the various things. So that's today's sessions. That's what we've got coming up. Let me go back to our schedule and talk about some of the other sessions for this week. So Maiko Dalry is here tomorrow, and he's going to do a handling exceptions in Delphi. Then there's a session by me probably at 11 a.m. And we're going to talk about SQL and MySQL and connecting to that using Rad Studio, and also talking about how you can edit really huge, massive files with things like Ultra Edit, which is a really great tool as well. We've got a session after that, which I think we're going to move around, from Miguel Angel Moreno, and that is implementing try-finally code blocks in C++. So it's a nice C++ session. We've also got, sorry, I'm bright light shining my eyes and making it difficult to see. Oh, yes, on Wednesday, very first session will be from Michalis Cambarelis, and it is coding games using the Castle game engine and Delphi. This is always a very popular session. You've got to come along and meet Michalis and listen to him. He's a fantastic developer, and the Castle game engine is really, really good. It's for creating games and graphics and stuff like that. If you want to do something graphically intensive, it doesn't have to be a game. Of course, that's what it's written for, but the Castle game engine is much more versatile than that. We're going to have Juan Castillo back, and he's going to talk about advanced logging, filtering, multi-threading support, and all sorts of exciting things like that. And then Miguel is back after that, talking about resource allocation, which is initialization for Delphi, RAII. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds complicated, and it's going to be interesting stuff. What else have we got? Yes, on Thursday, perhaps my favorite title of a session so far. First of all, Antonio Zapata is doing a session at 10 a.m. So the first session on Thursday, you've got to watch. It will be using HTMX with Delphi in the background. HTMX is the flavor of the month. Everybody is talking about HTMX. Every time there's a webinar on YouTube or something like that, there's millions of people join to see it. Antonio's session on HTMX is absolutely gorgeous, and you've definitely got to come and see that. Following that, another very cool session, and Thursday is really shaping up to be the day to be around, and that's a smart backpack controlled from a mobile application with FGX Native. That's by Yaroslav Brovin, and you've got to see this session. If you're into controlling gadgets and technology using your code, Yaroslav's going to show you how to do it. It's really, really good. After that, a session from Ed Katzner, and he is going to show us Yellowfin. I haven't got the session title up at the moment, but Yellowfin BI is like a business intelligence platform. They're one of the sponsors of Code Gears sessions this week. And when we did a demo before, it's absolutely amazing how you can drill down into information, analyze stuff in all sorts of exciting ways. It's all done for you. You just host it in your app or whatever. They have a Delphi example that will show you how to do that, but Ed's going to drive it. He's the expert in this kind of stuff and show you exactly what it can do. Very, very clever stuff. And then following that, Ali Deban is going to do Easy DB Migrator. You got one set of data and it's trapped in there, and you're going, no, I want to move away from that and use something else. Maybe there's some licensing change that's costing you money. Maybe you're using SQL Server and you now want to use MySQL. Maybe you want to go to Postgres. Easy DB Migrator is going to help you with that. That's the session. On Friday, first session of the day is from Ben and forget who else today. Bradley. Yes, Bradley's going to join us as well. And they're going to talk about Ultra Edit and show you all the cool stuff that Ultra Edit can do. If you've not used Ultra Edit before, you've really got to give it a whiz, because I think Juan had it in his session where it can do things like display files that are being updated at the same time. So you get a live update of information, but it does all sorts of many other things. It uploads to FTPs, and this is a text editor. It can do syntax highlighting. It can do XML formatting. It does hex editing, binary file editing, and stuff like that. I am not an expert currently on Ultra Edit, although I'm going to get better, but I personally use it for editing massive SQL files, SQL files, and it's a really great product for that kind of thing. It just opens like that and works. If you try to open the same file in Notepad++ or even normal Notepad, you may as well go and make a coffee and a sandwich, because you're going to be there for a long time. And then even once it's displayed, every time you move a cursor, it tries to update and the whole thing falls to pieces. Not with Ultra Edit. That's one of the things they're very, very good at doing, is managing handling of massive files. Got a CSV file, you want to reformat that and, I don't know, do a search and replace on the CSV file, you can do that in Ultra Edit. It's really, really great tool. I can't say enough good things about it. It's great. After that, session by Dr. Kevin Bond, a professional educator, no less, from the UK, and he's going to talk about functional programming. If you are wanting to know a bit more about computer science and the kind of things that computer science can inform us in during our normal working day, then Dr. Kevin Bond is going to talk you through that. Kevin's a great educator. Functional programming is a technique for writing code that's clearer and more maintainable, and you can look at the code and grasp what's going on straight away with functional programming. But he's going to talk all about it. It's something, if you don't know what it is, join us and you'll find out more. He's got a book out and all sorts. Paul McGee from Australia Delphi User Group is going to talk about coroutines, and his session is literally called Coroutines. What the heck are they? Exactly. And he's going to discuss that at length and teach you what coroutines are and why you need them and what use they have. And then finally, on Friday, we're going to finish up with 2 sessions. First session will be from Ali Diban, Open API Wizard. That's at 1 p.m. my time, US Central Time, 5 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. UTC, and work it out whatever your time is. Right now for me is 10:25 in the morning, 10:25 a.m. So you can, we're starting this time every single day, so you can work it out from there. It's the 4th session of the day is the Open API Wizard. And then we're going to finish up with a session from me where I'm just going to take you through a tour of a few tools, talk about where you can get some free stuff, and then discuss what we're going to do next, and also talk about our webinar series that's coming up. We're going to start doing some more webinars, and there's a book out coming soon, although I'm not sure if I can discuss it yet, because the author's still working out. And actually, there's another book as well that's very interesting that's coming out as well. Lots happening in the community. I'll talk about some of our big users of Rad Studio and what they do with it. And possibly cover a few projects and a few apps that are out in the App Store that you can download and written in Delphi and written in C++ Builder for Windows and a few other things as well. So good stuff. Let me have a look at what we've got. Mark says, nice to meet you all. Yeah, good. Thank you. We're trying to make it a little bit more community orientated. The replays get about between 3,500 and 4,000 views after about 2 or 3 days. So we know that people are out there, and that's just on one of the channels. We've got 11 different places it goes out to, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Meta Live, X Live, / Twitter Live, Facebook Live, a couple of YouTube channels. We're everywhere, basically. Patrick says, Michalis will code a 3D game in live conditions in Castle Game Engine. Well, Patrick apparently knows more than I do. So that's great. It's really, really exciting. And Nigel's here. Hello, Nigel. Hello, all. And it's happening. And Patrick says, woohoo, party time. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we've got half an hour until the first session for today, the first pre-recorded session or scheduled session, which is simplifying the cloud with Delphi. And I thought what I'd do is just talk a little bit about getting apps to work on Windows and a Mac, and just show you the setup of the Mac. I'll do this by remoting into my Mac because of the setup I've got. I mean, it is possible for me to actually set my Mac up and have it on a screen to have side by side, but it makes a little bit more sense if I remote to it, I think. I'm thinking now out loud that maybe I am wrong about that. Let me just, where is my remote session? Yeah. Hold on just 1 second there. I don't want to. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Put that over there. Just see if that works. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, so it looks like I can show it there. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to just disconnect because we don't want that completely running in the background whilst I'm doing other things. I think I just closed that window. Oh, well. It's all going well. It'll be fine. Right. So what I'm going to do is show you an app on my machine, and then code it so that I can actually make it work on the Mac as well. So let me just share my screen. I'm going to try and do it so that I'm on both at the same time. Always exciting that in case I accidentally share something I shouldn't. But today, I think I've got the right thing. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so what this is just a Rad Studio ID, and you can get a free copy of it if you qualify by going to there. I'm going to hide that QR code for now because we want to get to the screen. So what I've got, if any of you have taken advantage of the, there's been a special offer that we had going, and if you renewed, I forget how it worked. I think if you renewed your license, then you got a free mobile training course. Okay, and I'm going to show you that. It is at Embarcadero Academy. Embarcadero. Sorry, academy.com. Let me see. Yeah. So the course is on here. You'll see my face somewhere. I have to be a little bit careful when I've got this out because, yeah, okay. So mastering mobile app development. If you renewed last quarter, then you would get this course for free, which is now live. There are actually two courses from us. Where it says Embarcadero official course, it means it is from someone who works for Embarcadero. So me and another person. The other session that is on here, let me just go back to that, see where it is. It should be showing. All right. Well, I don't know where it is, but there's another one as well called Rad Studio, Rad Server, sorry, training. Interesting that I don't see, but anyway, it doesn't matter too much. But this is available now. Ignore that price. If you renewed, then you got a license for it, and you got it for free. And that course is in two parts. Part 1 is available now, and part 2 will be available just after this weekend. As you can imagine, because I'm the one that's working on it, I'm a little bit busy doing something, streaming wise. So, it's one of those things. Now, what that course does is that course teaches you how to go from the absolute basics. And just say good morning from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. I've been to the Domrep. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And, lots of date trees and all sorts of wonderful things as well. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. Anyway, so the mobile course, like I say, is in two parts. The first part is really lots of stuff teaching you about how to set up your machine so that you can connect to various platforms. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you open a mobile project, so a cross-platform project, one that can go to anything, then you'll see down the side here where I'm showing at the moment, and hopefully that shows up on your screen, that you can target all sorts of things. Now, at the moment, I've got Android 32-bit. Nobody uses Android 32-bit anymore. It's theoretically possible, but to be honest, nearly all devices now, Android devices, are 64-bit. There may be a legacy one. Nigel says he reviewed a few weeks back, and I've tried and find this. I don't know what the details are of this course deal, Nigel. I just know that it was one of those things. But if you speak to whoever you renewed, like one of your salespeople, contact them, and they should be able to give you a link. What they'll do is they'll give you a coupon code. That's the word I'm looking for. That will allow you to access the course on the site for free. And Einstein 855 is back again. Delphi language is very good, but it needs an offline install of the community version. Yes, okay, that's a fair comment, and I'll note that down and look after that. Terry says he renewed in February, but saw nothing regarding the course or the license. Do you know how this was handled? I honestly don't. Did you renew because of that deal? If you do, then whoever you renewed via, then you need to speak to them. I have to say, I said it's because you renewed. I don't know what the actual deal was, because I don't really deal with the sales side of things like that. But contact whoever your salesperson was. What I will do, I'll ask tonight from our salespeople what the details are and let you all know during the week. If not, email me specifically. You've got my email address, but email me and I'll try and hook you up with whoever it is. I could be talking out of turn. There might be some terms and conditions to do with the license, but I don't think there was. I think it was just if you renew, but there you go. Anyway, so as I was saying, the course is in two parts. The first part of the course is really just talking about how to what we mean by cross-platform, what the benefits are of cross-platform, registering an account with Google so you can do Android development, registering an account with Apple so you can do iOS development, and setting up your machine so that you can actually connect to actually create the mobile app. Now, all of that, it really occurs in here. So, for example, on here, I have got, I think this is the right one. Let me just make this, embiggen this so that I can see. Yeah, so I've got a Mac M1 machine. You can't see it, but it is over that way, and I'm pointing to it, but it's a Mac M1 Mini over there, and it's on my network, obviously. And what happens is that on that machine, you will set up the connection. And what the connection is it is a thing called PA server. I'm going to connect to the Mac in a minute and show you that so that you understand what it is. Okay. Terry says, noted, he will get hold of the salespeople. Good. Let them deal with it, not me. But what you have on your machine is you will have a connection profile. That will be my internal IP address on my Mac. Okay, and then the port number is just a standard port, and then there's a password. What platform it is? Well, it's a Mac OS 64-bit, and it's an M1, so actually it's a ARM processor. And if I test the connection, it should say yes. Connection failed. Oh, I know why, because I haven't set it up yet. Anyway, so I have it working on there. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Now, let me connect to my Mac and show you what's on my Mac. 1 second, everybody. I have to do a remote bit, and I accidentally shut it when I was busy talking about nonsense. So let me just fix that now. Big password. Right. So this is my Mac. I'm going to just drag this out of the way. It's just telling me that I'm connected to it by remote. So I can't change the resolution of this screen. So I hope you can see that fairly easily. At least I don't think I can. Can I change it from here? View. Yeah. I think I have to actually change the settings. I don't want to fiddle around with it too much. Don't think there's a way of doing it remotely. But anyway, I could change the font. So what happens is on your PC, on your Mac, you will go into there and you will install. Oh, I didn't want to do that. You will install, go away. You will install the a thing called PA server. Okay. Now, the training course will tell you all about that, but what you will end up with is a link like this, one that says PA Server Manager, okay, one that says PA Server, okay. Now, if I just briefly go back to my my RAD Studio for a second, I apologize that my mouse is all over the place because I have multiple screens doing stuff. So if I just pull up RAD Studio for a moment, there is actually the instructions for doing that are on the mobile help wizard. So if you go to help and then mobile help wizard, it will tell you what to do. The training course goes into a lot more details about how to set it up. But essentially what will happen is on your Mac, you will have this PA server running. Now, I could just click on it and it will run, but it just so happens that I've got it set here. So I'm going to put in password. Okay. There are a number of commands, but you don't need to worry about that. All you need to know is that running in the background will be this PA server. And I'm not going to do it, but there's I know what the IP address is for this machine. So I go back to Rad Studio. Okay. It is the helmet of Pericles. Thank you. Yes, it is. I go back to Rad Studio, and in the thing that says connection here, that is where I put my IP address. And now if I say test connection, it's going to succeed because I'm running PA server. Now, what is PA server? PA server is a little server that runs on your Mac, or it could be on a Linux machine or something like that. And it will receive instructions from your Windows PC and execute them on the Mac or the Linux machine. Okay. And those instructions are specifically things like downloading SDKs from Xcode, which is Apple's compiler, or it could be compile the program. Here's some source code from Delphi, and now compile it and produce an app. Okay. And if we were to go back into the Mac again, there's some other instructions as well, like you don't need to worry too much, but you can go into Wi-Fi mode and debug and run your apps on Wi-Fi mode. Now I'm just going to minimize that down a minute because we don't really need that running. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to here. Now if I start by running it as a 32-bit app on a PC, if I hit F9, you can't see it, but over here is the app. Okay. And if I do this and do this, and this is on Windows, by the way, and if I just minimize that window, you'll see what I mean. Let me just minimize it down. This is my Windows desktop. And, if you're not sure, I can prove it. There is Windows, and I've got some screens set up. Okay. And it behaves just like you would expect from a Windows PC. Okay, you'll notice that this text is vibrating, or whatever you want to call it, but fading in and out. Okay, and this is a text box, so I can type something in there. Now I've left this as kind of the default business, but again, the button works as you would expect. Now, what I want you to notice about this app, because it's running on Windows, is that the close button, the maximize button, and the minimize button are Windows style. Okay, and all this is all standard Windows behavior. So I'm recommending not upgrading your OS to new point release to avoid Xcode updating breaking things. I'm going to show this on the screen because Terry's making a good point. I disagree, actually. Honestly, I do upgrade, and I try and make sure I've got the latest versions of things. I do write actual apps that are used by some people, by the visiting nurses, for example. They've got, I don't know how many hundred people that are visiting patients and stuff like that, and they actually rely on the app to do things like scanning documents and stuff like that. They've also got a specialized contact app that they use as well. I would say, Terry, I don't believe that's the case. I think you're fine with point releases. In terms of, and it's been a couple of years since I played with FMX. I could be remembering incorrectly. Possibly, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like the kind of advice someone may have given. Certainly with Rad Studio, you do want to upgrade to the point releases. So 12.0, when 12.1 comes out, you get upgraded to 12.1. When 12.2 comes out, go to 12.2, and so on and so forth. And the reason is that with each point release of Rad Studio, we upgrade the bits that are inside to talk to things like iOS. So in that sense, yeah, you definitely want it. Anyway, so the point is, as you can see, this is a first-class Windows app. It works like a Windows app. It's doing all this vibrating, and you got this Hello World thing come in. Okay, which is all well and good. Now, what I'm going to do is you start off originally when you install this, you will get the SDK over. If you don't do that, the first time you try and compile for a Mac, it will pull an SDK over. And it's just the SDK it needs to build your apps on the Mac. Because when I compile, normally when I compile on Windows, it's compiled, as you can see here. And if I expand this command line, it compiles on my machine itself, on my Windows machine. When I compile on the for the Mac, it actually does a compilation on the Mac itself, not on the PC. So in the background, and I'm going to pull up my Mac again. Oh, come on, mouse. Oh, I've got too many screens. On my Mac, in the background, I have installed already the latest version of Xcode. Now, I'm not going to upgrade my Xcode at the moment because if I do that, it'll break everything for my demo. But this is just the regular Xcode. Now, it's free if you have a developer account with Apple. And the training course does talk about that. I'm not trying to sell the training course. We're going to, if you want to know a little bit more about that, then all you need to do is actually go to the welcome page here in the IDE and watch that video, okay? Because all of these down here, Learn, will give you free advice on how to create an iOS app, how to create a Mac app. It's all there already. So if you are a student or you're a trainee, then it's all there for you already. You can get it in there. The training course goes into a lot more depth. Now, one of the things in the training course, I'm going to close the welcome page again because I don't need it. One of the things I talk about in the training course is I show you how to create this app. Okay, so you remember when you saw it on Windows, it was pulsating in and out. Okay, you saw it fade and unfade. That text there, hello world. And we'll just run it again so you can see. Oops, I just hit some key there that I shouldn't have done. So you can see it say hello world. Okay, and actually when it starts up, it's not very easy to see, but this hat starts off the screen and drops down. Okay, and the word hello world flies in from the left. Okay, and remember this is fading in and out completely, and it's got the kind of neomorphic background going on there. But when I go to the code, zero. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we do that with the benefit of what's known as animations. So there's a thing called a color animation, and if I hit F11, it will pull up the details of the color animation. Okay, I get that from my going into the palette here and choosing animations and pick color animation. Okay, and I drop it onto whatever control I want. I can do that in the structure pane, but I can also drop it directly on here. So I dropped it on my label and a color animation. And then I said to it, what type of animation do I want? Well, in just means when it appears. Auto reverse is true. So I want it to fade out and then fade back in again. How do I do that? Well, the property that I want to affect is the font color of the label. So if I go down on this label and choose text settings, there's the font and there's the font color. Okay. So with the animation, and I'm going to use the navigation pane to go back, I'm changing the value of that font color on the label's text settings there. Okay. And I am telling it to start with a kind of green color, which is what you see on the screen at the moment, depending on how good your resolution is. I stop when I get to white. So I literally make it fade out to the background color because the background color of this is white. And then because it auto reverses, once it reaches white, it will reverse back round again and go back to green. that has the effect of making it pulsate, like you sort of fade out and fade in. Now, it's just a gimmick, but I'm trying to show you what you can do with FireMonkey FMX, how powerful it is. Now, how fast do I want it to do? Well, the duration is 2, so it's 2 seconds, okay? And it's enabled the minute that the trigger value here is true, okay? So if I turn that off like that, if I now run the app, put it over, you can see it come in. Now the animation is not doing anything because I've disabled it, okay? If I go back in and say enabled equals true, it will do it. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do it quicker, I think I can do 0.25. I'm not sure. Yeah. So now, this will be crazy. Now, see how quickly it's flashing? So you can make the thing flash. It's insane, isn't it? Okay. But we'll stay with 2 because we don't want to cause epilepsy or something like that. But that's what that does, and that's how these things work. Now I've got a few other things going on. For example, I have a shadow effect down here, and what that does is when I drop it onto any component, it will create a shadow. And in fact, I have a control here, which is my round rectangle. And I've dropped a shadow effect on there and changed the shadow to be a kind of gray color. So what you get is that kind of neuromorphic color. What do I mean by neuromorphic? Well, neuromorphism. I'm sure you all know I'm a bit of a UI geek. This is neuromorphism. If you go to neuromorphism.io, you can pick a color. Let's pick blue, and choose this. Actually, that doesn't show up very well on this screen. Yeah, let's pick a different color. There's one. So neuromorphism is this kind of weird shadowing effect. There's different options that you can choose so that buttons stick out and stick in and all the rest of it. It's just a way of choosing a nice little graphic. That's neuromorphism.io. Go there and have a look yourself. It's actually very pretty. It gives you the color values, the RGB values, and all the rest of it. So all I do with that is I have set that shadow just so that it's got a cool shadow around it. Okay, so shadow effects, all the rest of it. In terms of what effects there are with FireMonkey, there's a lot. I mean, tons and tons and tons and tons of them. I've got all sorts of things, controls on there. But if you want to say animations, well, you can animate bitmaps, you can animate rectangles, you can do float key animation. That's when a property is a floating point value, and you want to animate it like that. I do a similar thing on here. I've got a float animation. So there's my image of a hat. And what I do with that is I have set up a float animation. So as you can see, there's my image in the structure pane. Okay. And I've dropped the float animation onto the image. Okay. I've then gone in and I've said to it, I want to change the XY position. What is the XY position? Well, it's this value. And I want to change the Y position. Okay. The Y is FireMonkey's way of saying the top value. And X is the way of saying left. It just does it differently. So on the float animation, I want to animate the .Y value of position. I want to do it when the control becomes visible for the first time. So if I had this turned off, if it wasn't visible, and I made the button here make that image visible by clicking on it, it would only float in once I clicked on the value. And I can test that in a minute. I haven't tried that out actually, but I'll test that and make sure that works. But if it starts with it being invisible, and then I click on there, make it visible, then the animation will run. So the trigger is when the parent component, which is this, is visible, then the float animation will run. What does it do? Well, it starts with the top or the Y position. So this is Y and this is X. It starts with the Y position and being minus 200. So what I've effectively done is gone to here and said, start off with it minus 200, and that will put it off the screen. If I just do 50, you'll see what I mean. So 50, 60, 70, 50, and you can see it slowly move down the screen. We actually, the default is 5, 6. Okay. So with that float animation, I'm telling it start off screen where you can't see it. Okay. Use 256 steps, change it until it ends at, not 256 steps. Start at minus 200 and keep changing it over the course of 2 seconds until it says 256. So in other words, when it reaches its final position. So it starts off screen and goes down. So it will appear to float down. Okay. Again, enabled, but this time I only wanted it to do it once. So I've turned it off auto reverse and I've only got it to do it once. Okay. So let's just see what that works like. It's image 1. I'm going to do that again. If I quickly, I can't get my mouse over quick enough. It's too quick. But come on, computer. You couldn't see it because I was too slow, but as soon as that became visible, it worked. Let's see if I can make it so that it only does it when I click on the button. Right, so I'm going to start with this control being invisible. Like that. So let's try running it. Get my mouse over. So now I can afford to make mistakes on my mouse. And now when I click on Click Me, boom, because the controllers become visible. So it's the trigger is when this is visible at some point, then animate. Very handy. I won't repeat it because I've said only do it once. But if you recall, this is fading in and out because it's got loop enabled. Great. So really, really simple stuff. Now, it starts to get even. Let's just run it one more time because I'm going to show you on the Mac. We've got 3 minutes left, so I may as well. So one more time, when I make it visible, and you remember the piece of code says make it visible. 0 code for me to do that. Okay, I don't need to do a timer or anything like that. I just make that thing visible. Very handy for spinning controls or something like that. Now, it starts to get really cool when we say, let's target the Mac. So I've double clicked on here, which makes this profile active. Okay. And if I do this, I think it will work. Hang on. If I run this, you'll see it doing some running. It's deploying. Okay. Signing it, and then eventually I think hello computer, there's the app running on the Mac. Okay, and if I now click on Click Me, exactly the same behavior happens. It's juddering a bit because I'm actually remoted in you know, it's remote into remote, and then I'm broadcasting it out to you. But a couple of things to notice about this. First of all, you see that the control works like a Mac control, but looks exactly the same. The shadow is all exactly the same, and the colors that we're cycling through is all exactly the same. But without any changes to the code whatsoever, the Macintosh Apple Mac look and feel for apps, which is, you know, your traditional look and feel. And in fact, if I hover down here, hopefully maybe my screen's a little bit too small when I'm doing this. But if I scroll down here, normally the other apps would appear. You can see, you get the general gist that this is a true Mac app. Remember on Windows, the controls were that side and the caption was actually over to the left. And on the Mac, it's this. And with that, you also get the mobile project menu as well. So if I'd put a main menu in there, it would appear in here. So I've got all the controller menu, whereas on the Windows app, the menu would be in here, just under there. So that is a cross-platform app. Now, the key thing to note about this is the absolute lack of special code for making it work on the Mac. Okay, I haven't done anything. I can, if I need to, create special views. So if I wasn't happy that it was looking right on a small, narrow iPhone, okay, screen, which is significantly different in terms of size, I can go in and I can change, for example, that control there to be bigger. I think actually on the iPhone it won't do that. Yeah, it's auto size at the moment, but I can move these controls around and it will automatically generate a new view for the iPhone 4. Same with my a 4-inch Android phone. I can fiddle around with this and make this fit as well, move controls around, but it will only affect that view, the Android view. Okay. And same with the tablet. If I wanted to do a tablet view or I wanted to do a landscape view or whatever, it will do it. Okay. Now, that's a very brief overview of what Rad Studio can do. It is, even if you get the free version of Rad Studio, you can, I'm going to close this down for now and stop sharing my screen. Even if you get the free version of Rad Studio, you can do all of that. You can write one app and it will work for Windows and Mac. As simple as. Yep. Yes, Martha says we're over time by 1 minute. Yes, I know. I looked at the time and I'm like, I'll carry on for now. So you can definitely create apps that will work with zero changes in the code. There are some exceptions like file handling and stuff like that. It's a little bit different because obviously, between different operating systems are different. But all of what I just showed you there is all available in the free version of Rad Studio 12. If you've got an older version of Rad Studio, then download the free trial. If you don't qualify, and get the free trial. Have a go at it. I'm a really big fan of FireMonkey. It doesn't do everything. VCL, which is Windows only, does a lot of other things as well on top. But FireMonkey is truly great. So just very briefly address a couple of questions. I know we're over time. There's a video course but it's by Antonio. Yes, that it is not the video course by Antonio is not the same as Marco's one. It's different. Antonio's one on Embarcadero Academy, which I showed you on, is brand new, and he's worked very hard on it. It uses the latest version of Rad Studio and various other things as well. Paul Sado, my course is completely brand new, and in fact, I'm still working on it. Part 1 is out now. Part 1 shows you how to do all of everything I showed you there, and in fact, that application that you saw there is from that course. In fact, it's green in the course, but I wanted to show the white version as well. And I show you how to connect to a Mac, how to connect to iOS, how to use, create Mac apps, even if you don't have an Apple Mac. It's possible. It's not great, but you can do it without it. We had someone on the other day who was showing that they were using somebody else's Mac, which is also completely, perfectly normal. It will work as well. But go to that course and get it for free. If you're not sure how to get it for free, contact the salespeople. If not, if you're really stuck, email me and I'll do what I can. I'm very, very busy. So right this week and most of next week as well. So I might be a bit tricky. I'm going to answer questions later about WebAssembly and a few other things as well that are in there. Right. So we are going to go to the next session, which is a little bit late, and I apologize for them. We're 5 minutes running over but I'm sure it'll be worthwhile. The next session is by Daniel Fernandez, who's an excellent coder. It is called Simplifying the Cloud with Delphi. Join along for that, and then I think Dan is actually joining us for live Q&A afterwards, where we'll answer any questions that come up. His pre-recorded section is 37 minutes, so we'll have good 10, 15 minutes to have a chat. It's a Slack day today, so it's not too busy, and we can afford a little bit of Slack. But see you later, and scan that QR code, which will appear every so often for a free copy of Rand Studio 12 if you qualify. Speak to you later.
Hello everyone, welcome to Dev Days of Summers, and today I speak about how to simplify cloud with Delphi. Well, in this presentation, we will see monolithics, microservices, what is a function as a service, architecture, Google Cloud Platform or XP, Docker. Let's go. Let's see everything in the practice. And I left my contacts in the case you have questions. And in the end, we will have our Q&A. Okay, good. Well, before starting this presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel Fernandez. I'm a senior developer at Aquasoft. More than 9 years old experience with DeFi, graduate in the information technology management. I'm a postgraduate in software engineer. I'm a creator of Dinosaurs on Instagram. This is a community, Delphi community on Instagram. I'm a creator of the component Dinosaurs libraries for Delphi available on my GitHub. Is an open source component. And I speaker at DelphiCon 2023 and the Embarcadero Conference 2022, 2023, and in this year. Well, let's start. Monoliths. What is the monoliths? A monolith is a software architecture in which all components and functionalities are integrated into a single application. Look at this picture. We have a monolithic instance, and all the components and functionalities are integrated in a single application here, like payments, orders, sales, and in the monoliths, we have a single communicate with database, and we have a simple user's interface communicate directly with this instance of monoliths. And advantages of monoliths. Initial simplify in architecture because all the features are integrated into a single location, like this image. It is good for creating MVPs because it is easy and quick to develop. Because the same reason, team cohesion among developers. Because in the monolithic architecture, we use only one language, which makes it easier to create a development team. Simple to deploy to production. If you update a feature, the entry application will be ready to deploy to production. And is to debug because all the feature is in one place. Here I recommend monolithic first is a post of the Martin Fowler. If you're interested about the monolithics, I recommend you read after this presentation. And disadvantages of monolithics. Everything is in one place. When everything is in one place, generate a high dependence. When I generate high dependence, I generate low scalability. And other disadvantages of monolithics is it's a take time for a new developer to get accustomed, and a problem in one part of the software affects it as a whole, a database, and a single technology. A single technology is a problem because if you have a problem that another technology can solve in a simpler way, if you use just one technology, you are stuck with it. Other approach is a microservice. What is a microservice? Microservices are an architectural approach that designs software as small, independent services, each performing a specific functionality. Each service operates as an autonomous entity and communicates with other through APIs, creating a modular and scalable application. Look here. In monolithic architecture, we have many functionalities and only one instance, have only one database and only one user's interface. But in microservice, we have many instances, and each instance is a microservice. Each microservice have your own responsibility, and which microservices have only one database. These microservices have just sales responsibility, and this database have just information about sales. In microservice, we can have many users interface, like a mobile, like a desktop, like a web, and which microservice is an API. Microservices communicate with each other. Well, when to use the microservice? Large and complex applications need to be highly scalable and adaptable. Applications that have many domains and subdomains need for a continuous integrations and implementations. Here we have an impressive microservice architecture and have a client, API gateway, microservices, and Dockers, containers, and orchestration. Here we have a sentence about the microservice. Don't use a bazooka to kill an ant, because if your application is not too large, you don't need this approach. And features of microservice. Divide tasks independently. A service should implement only one function. Actually swap service. Communication is done through well-modeled HTTP APIs, built through small responsibilities, automated deployments, different language can be used. Here is what we are going to build. We use the Angular client, API gateway built with Define, microservices in Define. We use Docker for containers, and we use Google orchestration for containers. And we use NoSQL database with Google Firebase. And what are the advantages of using microservices? Scalability is efficient. You can scale your software better with ease of maintenance. This is a somewhat divergent point as well, that this ease of maintenance refers to have a smaller piece of code to analyze. The technology is diverse, it is resilient and fault tolerant. So if you manage your coupling properly, one microservice won't stop the other, and with parallel development, you can break down your microservice into several microservices. Give you the possibility to granularize your software well and the ease of horizontal scalability, which is what it means to granularize the software. And the disadvantages. The complexity arises from the size of the architecture, refactoring test, where you have an input and output and you have small business rules in the microservice. But finding where the problem might be can be a bit more time consuming. They increase the cost of fixed bugs. They increase the cost in the terms of the time it takes the developer to find where the problem occurs. Can be either latency communicate is always done via HTTP. In this case, Google offers VPC Virtual Private Cloud, which is a local network within the cloud. And this local network allows you to connect your serverless functions, which significantly reduce latency, but we are still talking about HTTP communication. So that's the advantages. Data management over the long terms, you will have multiple database and at some point this can become complex to manage. And not all applications are large enough to be divided into a microservice, which is something to consider when choosing this approach. And the best practice for microservicing. Each service in a microservice architecture has its own database. Preferably use asynchronous communication. Communications between microservices should be done through REST API exposure. We should avoid coupling. The API gateway should centralize authentication, routing, and load balancing, reach limitation, and app logging. Everything should happen within it. It is like a swagger. Avoid cascading failures. By avoiding microservice coupling and being mindful of dependency between microservices, you can avoid cascading failures so one microservice won't stop another by failing at some point. And how to migrate from a monolith to microservice. First, you extract a functionality from your monolith, move it to a microservice and test it. Avoid refactoring everything at once. You should first think about decoupling the service from a monolith. When starting to migrate your monolith to microservices, you should always first consider the business rules and not necessarily the technology. Migrate service gradually, and you can use a pattern called shared database, where you migrate several functionalities from the monoliths to microservices and reuse the database. They gradually decouple the database. So sharing the database between microservices is a temporary nature. Microservices require a lot of automation, so you should think a lot about DevOps. At this stage for builds, create automation and pipelines. And what is function as a services? It's impossible to work with clouds and microservices without talking about FaaS or functions as a services. Functions as a service is a backend services, a server that isn't a server. It is a service that will be waiting to call it. And when a HTTP request comes to it, it will active, trigger the microservice, and return a response. And that's shutdown. And what are the advantages of using it? You have improved deployment speed because you don't need to worry about the infrastructure. It is all managed by the cloud provider. Scalability is built in, so you don't need to worry about trafficking with contingents. This will be managed by the cloud, cost efficient because you don't pay for a server, you don't have a service run on time or a virtual machine. You only pay for the time your service is executed. You send a request, it executes your microservices, give you return and shut down. From that moment on, there is no more cost. It's similar to a tax meter. And what are challenges of functions as a services? You have less control over the system because you don't have directly access to the infrastructure. So understanding it can be somewhat complex, and it is more complex to test because when testing you will have to use the local environment, and you will have to try to reproduce as closely as possible that cloud ever wanted on your test machine. And the concept of serverless is exactly the same as functions as a services. Serverless functions are implemented in containers that are start on demand. So functions as a services is a serverless. And here is a representation of the architectures. I wrote functions as service and serverless here just to compare. There is the same representation of cloud trigger functions. This is what we are going to build, which I have already explained. And here is how GCP works with functions as services. We will have the cloud build, which will generate the artifacts that will be our container orchestration, which will store our Docker. And the Cloud Run is your functions as services, which will trigger when calling the microservices. And what is Google Cloud? Google Cloud is nothing more than physical and virtual resources spread all over the world. And the Google Cloud Platform is GCP, is a cloud computer resource provider. So it is a suite with various solutions. We won't be able to cover everything in offers because it provides numerous solution. I believe that to see everything, you would need the GCP certification, but here we will use it to work with functions as servers. And here, and here are the basic comments that we will use. I have left them here for you to consult later. Okay? The libraries we will use. App Engine is responsible for creating application in the cloud. Cloud Build, which is the application builder. Artifacts, which is your container orchestration. Cloud Run is your functions as server or serverless. It is the one that will trigger the microservers. And OEM, which control permissions. And just to wrap up the vertical part about what Docker is. Docker are virtual containers where you can run operating system images, you can run Windows, you can run Linux, you can run Mac. I am using Linux. To compile the file for Linux, you can use the PS server. There are plenty of video on the internet about it, and here are the basic Docker's command. Here, because we are going to use them. I left this one and this sudo docker build here marked because we will use it within the cloud. There won't be time to show it running in your local environment. So, as Linus say, talk ship, show me the code. Let's move on the practical part. So here in Delphi itself is nothing special. Here is my API gateway, which I built it. Let's just go back here. Here is my API gateway. So here it's just a horse. I'm listed on port 1818 with course enable, where we have our routes, and here in the route I'm specifying the HTTP verbs and I will be used, which are get, post, put, delete, and path, and for each HTTP verbs, it triggers a REST request into my microservice. In this case, I have an address that the cloud provides me, but it's my link. And this here in API gateway, so it will handle the routes of my microservices. And here is my deliver microservices, which is the same I create. It is also a horse, lesson on port 1818. If the same criterion, it has my link. Here are my HTTP verbs. It's a trigger to my Firebase, which is my database, right? So let's go to the cloud. Here cloud achieve all the services because it's take a long time. Just to create the cloud build, it takes an average of 10 minutes. So here within the cloud, you just create a new project since already to migrate here. I will be use my project, but there's nothing special about it. Just follow what is asked. Basically, next finish. And two active libraries I mentioned here, which are here. You just need to type their name, the app engine. Just type app engine here, and I will appear here. Here is the app engine. In the case of engine, when create, the only thing you need to pay attention to is to select the language you will use. There will be options: Python, JavaScript, PHP, or select others. You select others, and each environment will be flexible options. Flexible means we will be using containers, so just click on it and create it. Well, the same for the cloud build. Just type in the cloud build here because it will suggest it to you, and you just need to enable it. Just click enable and follow the same steps for all of them. You don't need to create any special configuration for it. Just for the app engine, you need this flexible language, and after you've activated all of them, come here and go into Google Shell. It will take a little while to start the machine, and I will open it in a sidebar here, so we have a dedicated tab for the console. Inside the console, I will specify my project, which is this project I created, this one that I specified here. And then inside here, uh, we will click on this pencil icon to open the editor. By default, every time we create a project, Google already creates a default folder. So you just go to open folder, and here I create a folder called delivery, and I will open it. Here, my local files. I have the two compiled files from the file, with which are my API gateway and my microservice, which are Linux binaries that I'm using via WSL, which is the Ubuntu I am running. I will need my app YAML and my cloudbit YAML, cloudbit.yaml, and the Docker file. So what we will do with this file, we will move them into the cloud. In this case, I created a folder called API Gateway and a delivery folder. And here you just drag and drop them into the browser. I have already saved some time, but by uploading them, let me live in here. And how this structure works, app YAML here indicates to our app engine that it is running in the flexible environment with containers, and it's running in custom because it will be a binary. In case it has Python, it would have Python with the Python compiler version. Your cloud build, I am pointing to the Docker service within the cloud. And remember that I left it here, marked in the Docker. This sudo command docker build, this is the command we use to create a Docker. So in this case, I am pointing to Google that in its argument, I want Docker to do build within my repository and the image I want it to create. In this one, I'm pointing to an image, and for it to create this image for me, it needs this file here, the Docker file. Inside the Docker file to use Docker, you will need an account here on Docker Hub. And here on Docker Hub, I am using this Ubuntu image. And inside Ubuntu, I am using version 22.004. So I'm telling my cloud that I want to get Ubuntu 22.04, which I will be pointing to this image. And here the runs are the steps that will be created. So I am telling it to create after it downloads that image. It will run and get updates to update the operation system and will install these libs. I am work with HTTP and I need SSL and curl here, so that two libraries are very important, and these are kind of Docker standards. I am asking it to create a folder called app with an mkdir. I am asking it to copy my API gateway, which in my binary, in the app folder. So I am talking it from outside and pass it into the containers it will create. Here I am using chmod to give Linux permission. So I am execute chmod here to give my binary permission, saying I will expose my containers on port 1818. Each is the port the horse is listed on, and here I am saying that my work there, each is for positioning, will be in my app folder. So when the container is launched, I will be in the app folder and I will run a cmd /API gateway to start the binary inside the Linux. And the same here, it's the same configuration for the other microservice in Docker file here. The only difference is that it in passing the binary of the microservice into the container. Here in the Google shell, we need to go into the folder here or cloud build. Let's type cd delivery and allow us to see the directory. So cd API gateway. In case sensitive, allow us to see the directory. Right. I'm in the folder with the binary and the configured files. So the app YAML is pointing to the app engine, and the cloud build will call the Docker file and start the build to create a repository. In my case here, I will go into artifacts, which is your orchestration. I have already created my folder with the repository, which is my Docker repo here. And to create this repository, it will be here. This command to create the repository with is gcloud artifacts repository, create a Docker repo, and just run this command here inside shell. Mine will give an error because it will say I already have this repository. When you run the first command in a folder, it requests authorization. You just need to click on authorization. It will run with your Google account. And here is the Docker repo, which I already created. It stores my container. I will have two containers in here. It just gave an error saying already exist. And to create this container, how it works, it this command here from a gcloud build summit. I will can the configurator and I will point to my cloud build, which is the cloud build from this folder here. So it will execute on this file here. Then you repeat the same process for my other microservices. So when you run it here, it will start the creation. The container is created here. What does it do? It will create an image. And in this image, you can control your version. Here I have the previous version, and here I have the last one I tested, which has 22 hours ago. Suppose I am upload a version and it has a bug and I need to revert to the provision version. I just need to point to provision container, which has the provisions versions of my binary, and you don't need to stop. You serve at any moment. So if you have 10,000 clients using your microservice and it has a bug, you update it and then it waits for all previous requests to finish the buggy service and it moves all clients to the new version without noticing the update now. And after create the containers here, let's link the containers with our Cloud Run here. To create a Cloud Run, which is your pass, just create the service here. Since I already have it, I won't create it from scratch, but I will show you how it works. Just select the container that you just created in its version. It will go to the orchestration, explaining here API gateway. It will pick the containers, and here is the last version I have. While the new version is being built, and you select the version. So you point to Cloud Run. So every time your Cloud Run is called, it will trigger this container. Select the number of instances and the type of authentication. I am using authentication directly in the API gateway. So if I open my API gateway, which I have already created here, it's running correctly here. It has already started running the steps I mentioned, which are the runs I created in the Docker file. And here, what happens when we implement? It gets a URL here, so I will work with this URL every time I call. This URL slash what is inside my Docker, which I define here in the file. In the case of my API gateway, it is listing on the URL of deliver MS order. So every time I call this URL here, it will trigger in this case one. Here one of the HTTP verbs that is running in the containers microservice, and let me see if it has already run. It has no run the status. So here I will edit the implementation. There is the option to configure the continuous deployment. Here you point to a Git repository, and every time you make a pull request, it updates for you. But we will not implement it here due to time constraints. Therefore, I will do it manually. Look, showing that my container support. So the Cloud Run needs. Look how cool. It updated my API gateway 1 minute ago. I will keep this new version and this here in the Angular frontend before updating the run. I have this class here where my verbs are, and it inherited from this class here, which is just in wait for the URL. So it will call my API gateway, and the API gateway will call the deliver microservice, and the deliver microservice will communicate with my Firebase. Every time I open this page here, it performs a get. So I will just separate it here and keep this one. So I selected here the new version of the container. Here it is, no, it is 2 minutes ago. And I will deploy it. Look how cool. It is deploying. The Cloud Run is updating. And I didn't lose access to the services. My get is working. And look here, it is working. My requests are 100% in the provision version from 22 hours ago, which is what is marked here. While the most recent version is still updating, I can even do a post here. I will put anything here, include post. Look at order tree here in Firebase. It continues work. And as soon as it finished, look, it updated. Now 100% of the requests are on the new version. This is the API gateway which is calling the other Cloud Run, and the process to update this Cloud Run is the same. So I just come here in Google Shell, go back one folder level, cd to dot, orders, underline, deliver, ls, and I will execute this cloud build command on the cloud build of this delivery microservices while it is executing here. A good practice on the API gate should be exposed and not the microservice. And the microservice inside the orchestration should not be openly exposed. And here within Google itself, if I execute command, it will be a get. So if I call here, I will call my container and Firebase request. Look, no access permission. Only the API gate is called the microservice and just waiting to finish update the containers, the build finish. Here are the steps of the Docker file, creating the target, and it's finished. And here we will do the same as we did for the API gateway. Look at the cloud run of the microservice. It goes to the registration, and I will select here the last version that I created. And upon saving, I will implement here same thing and same microservice that is there. Use the Firebase directly, continues to function. If I change here its containers to work while it implements the new version, while our users are working using that revision versus into its update on the cloud, we also have reports. I can access metrics to make decision about the cloud, see how the requests are, see the request count of the containers, how many instances were needed to use, latency, a source of information about the usage, how metrics are available, because Google itself controls your infrastructure. Well, folks, that is, I will not go into many details here about the report. It's a very self-explanatory, and I hope I have managed to really simplify the cloud using Delphi, because it's not a very common approach for Delphi people. We are more used to monoliths, but Delphi offers recurse for always modernity. That is, folk. Thank you so much for watching.
Excellent, really good presentation. I have a lot of questions of my own because it's one of those topics where it's tricky stuff. Daniel and Dion are both joining us live. Daniel, is your camera on? Because right now I don't see it being turned on. There you go. I knew you'd be there. Okay, so first of all, Dion is here because Dion is always here. Dion, we have him trapped in a little cell somewhere, and therefore he's never allowed to leave. From Aquasoft, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your title there at Aquasoft?
I am a
on the flight
of technology. I forgot. I didn't work. I forgot. I am
yeah. Boss man. I think that's what it is. Big boss man. Yeah, exactly. And also joining us is Daniel as well. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Ian. Hello, Dion. I'm
very familiar face.
Here.
I see you all the time on Instagram, I have to say. I recommend. Yeah. You'd be surprised. I stalk people all the time on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, is it Oliver? Is it? He's someone explained to me that his Instagram handle is Delphi in the Veins, Delphi in the Veil, or something like that. Anyway, he's a very good Instagram guy and TikTok as well.
Yes, I am a member for Delphi Naveia, and we have the Dinos Dev. He's a dinosaur programmer.
Yeah, there's just so many of you guys over there. I mean, really, well done to Brazil because you just breed so many. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And as you know, I'm coming to Sao Paulo in first week in September, and my talk will be why Brazil is going to be the next Silicon Valley. And I mean it as well, and I'm going to explain that. We've got some other things to talk about there as well, but that's the one I'm doing. Patrick is very bravely putting the your URL there in the chat, but also we've got you up here in the so I can put it there. There you go. So you're everywhere. Thank you, Patrick, for doing that. Great session. Let me just turn that off again so that you get bigger again. So I have some questions. Our audience didn't ask a massive amount of questions, but we did get a couple. Adele, who I think is in Libya or something. I forget exactly where he comes from. I apologize, Adele, if I've just moved you around the world a bit. But he said microservices can turn on a nightmare. Yeah, we all know that. But I think also the opposite. I think that actually microservices can solve some of your nightmares as well. So but he did say, by the way, that it was interesting. So that's a good thing as well.
I think Ian is more about the project that you're working on than the technology itself. Like the monolith. Monolith can be a good thing if you are working in a small project, but if you are using a large project, you know the very downsides of using a very large monolith. So I think it's more about the project that you're working on than the technology itself.
Yeah, we in some of the coding that I do for the time and attendance and the human resources stuff, they use microservices, and it makes it very robust because one of the microservices can go down and the others keep running, unless they're all hosted in the same place by Amazon or something, and then we're all stuck. But if Amazon goes down, the world just grinds to a halt. But it does make it more robust.
You need a large project for use the microservices.
Yeah. I mean, it can be useful for small projects as well, but yeah, for big projects, it's very good. And when people have doubts about microservices, they should remember one thing: Netflix is absolutely everywhere. It's a huge concern, and I don't know what the technology people at Netflix, how they sleep at night, because there's so many moving parts that could go wrong, but they deliver all of their services using microservices. And I saw a really interesting talk on YouTube from one of the main developer guys there, and he was saying how they spin up microservices for every person. So if you log into Netflix, you get a microservice specifically for you. And they are the biggest users of Amazon like micro hosting in the world, and I believe it. So yeah, in your presentation, Dan, you talked about the containers, which was very interesting. What I didn't miss, because I have to say I had to go and get some breakfast because I'm not eating anything. I'm telling you guys in the background here. Did you actually say what it was? Do you have to create a Linux app with Delphi for it to work?
Yes, I'm use the PA server for make a application in Linux, and I put this app into the Docker in Linux. But in the cloud, I make this application in Docker and directly in the Google Shell. The Google Shell create the integration in my app and the Docker.
So Google, because I know they love Linux, I'm guessing that Google's containers, their shells, are all Linux. Is that right? They don't have any Windows or shells.
I don't see the Windows, just the Linux.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And that's interesting because it's worth pointing out to people that are watching this who are using the community edition that you cannot create a Linux app currently with the community edition. I mean, there are good reasons why we don't currently do that. I personally, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble here with my boss, but I don't care. Um, but I personally think that if we had a community edition that did Linux, I think we would get more people creating microservices and also open source projects as well, because I think it would allow us to go out to further. But there are some issues because we have some licenses that we have for FMX Linux, which is what makes the graphical apps. And in fact, unfortunately, the guy that works on that is he. Let me just pull up the details because I just want to make sure I get this right before. Okay, so it was Eugene Kryukov. Very, very popular guy, very well known. He invented FMX, FireMonkey in general, and unfortunately, he passed away last week. He very young guy, and he passed away. I don't think he was even 40. I'm not sure. I'm going to find out his age, but he passed away from cardiac arrest, and very unexpected. We're going to do a blog post later today about it. I'll be doing it. But it hit us very hard in Embarcadero because we all know him, and obviously everybody that's using FireMonkey has used FMX, and he's passed away. And he does FMX Linux, he does Cross VCL as well. So it's people say, well, does that mean FMX Linux will stop? No, there are other people involved in that as well, but he was the man, so that's an issue for us, obviously, with the Linux. But yeah, it's worth mentioning. It's a sad thing to talk about, but I think that I used to be a professional poet, and I wrote a poem about living forever. And one of the things that poem was about was how what we do, like your presentation today, Dion's participation, these touch everybody. There are a couple of hundred people watching live, but many thousands of people will watch Dan's presentation later. We get between 2,500 and 3,000 within a couple of days watch that presentation. That's how you live forever, in my opinion. And Eugene is definitely going to live forever because there are so many thousands, in fact, millions of developers around the world that use FireMonkey, or at least know about it, even if they don't use it. So, he touched every single Delphi developer out there. So, horrible that he's passed away, but his memory lives on amongst us developers. So anyway, so so I think it was a very interesting presentation. It's one of those presentations where I'm going to have to go back and watch it again because you packed so many facts into it. It was actually quite remarkable. What would you? Some people are worried about using cloud services like Google, and I actually don't use them. I use Amazon almost exclusively, and DigitalOcean, and a few other people. Is there like a budgeting thing that you can set with the Google Cloud platform? If I was a programmer watching this presentation and go, "Oh, brilliant! I'll do what Dan says and create it," is there a way of them stopping spending too much money? Is there a limit that you know of, Dan?
Sorry, Dion.
Se tem
Dion
algum,
is the punchman for the English part.
tem alguma maneira de tu parar o gasto no Google também?
Yes. It's a serverless services. When I request my microservice, the Google Cloud start these services. When finish a process, we return me a response and shut down this services. And when shut down the services, the cost is finished.
Gone. Yeah.
But
Okay.
you have,
I think.
you have expanding sheet on the Google. Daniel maybe did not access that because he used our account from our company to
Right,
do
yeah,
the
yeah.
presentation.
No, I
And
wouldn't recommend showing it in a presentation actually, because you can accidentally show payment details and things like that.
and you have limits. You can set all the limits, the time that you want to spend to each service that you want, in how much you want to spend with it.
Right, yeah. That was really my main question. I think it's interesting. I've not seen anybody do a presentation before on a Google Cloud platform, and I think you did a very good job, Daniel.
Thank you.
English is not your first language, but it was understandable what you showed, and like I say, I'm going to have to see it again to get everything inside my head. But
I'm nervous.
but
I'm
it's
nervous.
very yes.
I'm nervous because English is so hard for me, but I
Ah,
try.
well, do you know what? It's way better than my Portuguese. So I can't even say give me a beer in Portuguese. I always say to people, the only words you need to know around the world are, can I have a beer, please? And yes, I will have a sandwich. It's like
Yeah.
everything else is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You
You
can
can
Yeah.
point
you
to the aircraft and
you
stuff
can
like that.
write a new book, Ian, about this. In
There
all
you
languages.
go.
Yes,
A new travel, a new part of my career is a travel guide. Ian's travel guide. 75 ways to ask for a beer in languages. I can't do. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to coming to Brazil. Everybody seems quite excited for me to come, which is a bit scary. I'll
will
get
be rock stars.
I take a photo with you.
I'll probably get kidnapped or something. But hey, Ian, come with us. We'll be fine. Yeah. But I mean, I really do like you guys, and Brazil is such a vibrant developer community. You're all quite young as well, which is depressing.
A bit.
Well, compared to me, but it's good, and I keep saying to people, the world needs to pay attention to Brazil. They don't know what's coming, because I think Brazil is poised on the edge of becoming quite important for things like outsourcing work and getting good quality outsourcing work. Many Brazilians speak English, or at least can understand English, and it's not a very poor country, but it's also not like a ridiculously expensive place like Silicon Valley, where even I can't afford to buy a house in Silicon Valley, because like a little apartment is like $4 million or something. It's ridiculous. No wonder, and they wonder why all the places are closing down there. So it's a bit of realistic reality check is coming to Silicon Valley, I think. So we shall see. But yeah. Oh look, and hey, Gustavo says I will be a rock star in Brazil.
Yes,
Not
yeah,
a
like a
thing.
rock star.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, the developer's travel guide, soon to a bookstore near you, says Patrick. It's excellent. Yeah. Oh, and also Einstein says Dion is the official translator of Empire Fair. I don't know about that, but yeah, he's definitely the official translator of Microsoft. And also, actually, Andrea says as well, to all of you, bravo, Danielle. Microsoft has amazing developers.
Yes,
We
it's really.
didn't put sponsored by Microsoft, but we might as well have done, because you've had so many people turn up from your company. I mean, I work with a lot of good developers and lots of tech partners out there. Softacom and GDK and people like that. Extremely good. But that is the key thing about, I think, the community, is that the people like you are really so helpful to everybody, and you help me do my job. I just come here and talk nonsense, for an hour. But you guys are the ones that are giving the knowledge out to people, and it makes a difference. Your talks do actually create new developers. I know, because I will bump into someone and they say, "Oh, I saw a talk by Dion. Oh, I saw a talk by so and so," and they will, mention it. So, it's definitely, it's worthwhile.
Amazing, yeah. And
Okay.
one time, one guy in a Embarcadero conference, he come to me and say, Dion, I see a presentation from you 4 years ago, and now I a senior Python developer because of your presentation. So thank you.
Wow.
Wow. And he says I still using Delphi because I use Delphi as a front for my project and my application, but I am a core Python senior developer, and thanks to your presentation, it all was wow.
Well, you know, everybody has someone in their life from their childhood they remember a good teacher. You know, when you were at school, there's a teacher where you knew that one teacher who taught you something good. And I, you know, I remember even to this day a teacher who was taught me science. He was a very good teacher. His name was Mr. Kempton. I'm sure he's long dead now. He's pretty old when he was teaching me when I was a kid. But that guy, without him, I would not have had the interest in science that I have and technology. Computers didn't exist when I was, you know, that young at school. I mean, they did, but they were not like they are now. But his tuition really made me have an interest in the world of science and technology. And it's true, you know, your presentation created a senior Python developer. Daniel, the same with yours, your presentation, you got people out there who will learn something. It doesn't matter if it's one person or 1 million people, you know, passing your knowledge on is great. And of course, it's a great advert for Microsoft, of course. It shows you know what you're talking about. So, okay, all right. Well, we're going to go to the next session because Jason is patiently waiting for us. He's live, so we can run over a few minutes. And he's giving me the thumbs up, so he's not doing this, which is a good start. But we're going to have a live chat. But thank you to both of you. And I think I'll see at least Dion. I don't know whether you're going to the Embarcadero conference as well, Daniel. But if you are, I'll see you in Sao Paulo in September.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Oh, cool.
And we can take a picture with you.
Of course, yeah, no problem. I plenty of selfies, yes. Rockstar selfies all like this.
I'd say, Gustavo, man, you are a rock star in Brazil.
All I do is I talk a lot. You know, the hard work is done by everybody else. I'm lucky. I just get to go there and smile a lot and talk about stuff, and it works. So, you know, if that's my job, I'm cool with that. That's a very
No, it's not. You know,
yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you soon. Okay. All right. So now we are going to. I'm going to hide this particular QR code just 1 second. Otherwise, everybody will be horribly confused about what's going on. So we have with us today a completely live session. We haven't got a time limit on it. It could be anything from like 5 minutes if we just get through the subject really quickly, or it could be 5 hours. It's not going to be 5 hours, is it? No, we're both shaking our head. That's excellent. Okay, so joining me live from the UK Dev Group, and I'm going to put the QR code up there, which I can now point to. And he does say at the moment it's not running HTTPS, so just click on the it's okay, it's safe, and go through it if it doesn't work. Is Jason.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very well. And we got the HTTPS working just in the last hour. So
Oh, you did? Oh, well, let me edit that URL because I think my URL is not the HTTPS.
It's one of those things that's, you know, just over the horizon and has been for years and years. And on our monthly slide at the meeting, it's like, and this month we will be. So I understand why publishing roadmaps is not popular when
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way, okay? Because roadmap, we said the R word, so we may as well address it. IDEA have a very firm policy, for those that don't know, of not having a roadmap. And Patrick, by the way, says hello. You've met Patrick. You know who Patrick is. Yes, Jason, for those that don't know, I probably should mention who you are. Jason runs the UK Dev Group, the UK Developers Group. And if you scan that URL up there, and people are scanning it because I see the QR code thing going, it's very good. Now, we're going to put some other links up in a minute to other sites, but Jason is specifically UK based. We're going to talk about developer groups in general, but the reason that Patrick, Jason, and myself have met up in the flesh, despite living many thousands of miles apart, is because we met at the Amsterdam.
The GDK
Delphi
Summit, the Delphi Summit, fantastic event. And me and Patrick have a passion for walking upstairs. So we don't use lifts. It's not superstition. We just like the exercise. So we bumped into each other on the first day going up the stairs, and then bumped into each other at the gym, I think, on the last day as well. So
this is where we discussed in the chat beforehand, where I said you said something about CrossFit, and I said I get cross when I try and get fit as well. Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, I mean, Patrick was there live, and so this is why some of these events, these in-person events, they faded away during COVID.
Yeah,
and it killed a lot of user groups. You know, I know the Orange County user group, they also didn't go live for ages, and they're actually quite a lively group. They meet every month, and I think Boise in Idaho, because that's where Jim lives, and a few other developers. It was the same thing.
Funnily enough, for us, for our group, our numbers sort of surged slightly through COVID. I think we were face to face up until that point, and people having to travel to London, and for even though for those in the States and other parts of the world, driving 3 or 4 or 5 hours doesn't seem like a thing. A lot of people outside London struggle to get in, and a lot of people inside London won't go outside London. So we were sort of fairly constrained. And then COVID came along, and we went virtual, and we probably had about. Probably grew the membership by about 50% over that time. We don't have a massive group. I think we've got 30 or 40 members. So well,
it's better than zero. Yeah. I mean, I always say to people as well, and this includes the people that are watching, because we'll get more people. We get a couple of hundred live, but we get several thousand on the replays, and weirdly enough, several thousand on the 4-hour replays as well, which is insane. Right. Not just because after the event is over, we cut them up into little chunks, so they're easier for people to watch, an hour here or 40 minutes there or whatever. But we get 3,000, I think it's 3,500 or something for day 4 or something like that.
Wow.
That was a 4.5 hour video.
Yeah.
And we can tell from the stats that, how much attention they're paying.
That's the engagement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So I don't know, but
there's a lot of content, isn't there? I think there's that people are consuming that, and you talked about the Delphi Summit, and I was keen to go, and I was keen to sort of try and get our members to go, because that face-to-face engagement, you just can't beat it. And Patrick will never need to ask me a question in his life, but if he chose to, I would absolutely invest my time in sort of trying to help out, versus a sea of questions and answers in sort of the Stack Overflow type thing. So
I think also that me being turning up and meeting people. Is your YouTube on, by the way? I can hear a slight echo, but it could be noise cancelling. But I think that the in-person event was useful, because people could come up to me and literally go, hi, shake my hand, and see that. Well, I mean, you tell me otherwise, but I think what you see is what you get. I mean, I am like this all the time. I'm not. This is not an act. I mean, it's my professional persona, if you see what I mean. I'm obviously not swearing and stuff like that, like that. But apart from that, what you see is what you get. I am genuinely an enthusiast about Delphi and Rad Studio and coding in general. I am a developer. I'm not some kind of like advertising, marketing, professional or something like that. I am a coder, and I think that meeting people in the flesh just helps, get that. But also it allowed people to sit around, drink a coffee or eat one of the many excellent foods they had at that event.
They did have excellent. I haven't actually spoken to Marco, and we've had some messages backwards and forwards. We're going to try and meet up, because obviously any user group to me is a bit of a busman's holiday. I've been involved in our group for a long time.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about another user group.
Well, no, and so I don't really any sort of face-to-face or sort of positive engagement like that. But the one thing I would have really liked was a little bit more. That is a fantastic venue, but we as the developers, whenever we get together, there always seems to be sort of a laptop breaking out and a few people looking over each other's shoulders and huddling in, and so there wasn't a massive amount of that. And I think Marco next year is going to try and get the hotel venue sort of the hotel and venue closer together.
Oh, really?
I hope so. Yeah. I asked, and he didn't say he wasn't. But
Yeah. I don't know how he manages to. I'm going to put the URL in here for the Delphi Summit.
And of course, we had some, and I don't own the speakers at all, but we had a couple of the speakers from UK Dev Group. We had Richard and Conrad.
Yeah.
So they both.
Yeah. I'm just going to go there because if people don't know what we're talking about and think we're just like talking nonsense, go to that URL and have a look, because they've got a post, summit video. Which really does capture the flavour of what's going on. I've got a lot of time for Marco G, and all of them at GDK. Actually, Francesca and all the others, they looked after everybody so well.
Yeah.
You would think that they were some kind of events company, not a development company.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. But go to delphisummit.com, because that is they're an interesting bunch of people. But I'm going to share my screen. Just one second.
While you're doing that, I'll just say to everyone, I'm a fan of the non-virtual desk backdrop. So this is actually my office.
We talked about this, didn't we? And I didn't quite get. Here we go. Community. Click on this. F11. There you go. So I use a virtual backdrop because they just want me to. So I don't have to. I can turn it off, but it's just easier. And also, sometimes my dog is lying behind me. Don't trust dogs. You know what I'm saying? It gets a little bit too graphic if they're kind of like, hot and sweaty and stuff. So let me just share my screen for a second, because I've got this screen up. I'm not sure. Yeah, we can still have us along here. That's good. So if people go to the blog page, which is blogs.embarcadero.com/community, and we will put a link up for that in a minute. But here is actually the community page. Now, Jason runs the UK Developers Group, which it suddenly occurs to me, do we actually have you on this page? Because that would just
no,
be typical.
No, I don't think so. So
isn't that just awesome?
Yeah. Well, we are a paid for group, so there's people pay subs to sort of for the admin. So I don't know if that counts for anything.
No. And in fact, I control this page, so I'll get you put on.
Okay. So you stopped me then.
Yeah. It was deliberate. No. I actually I'm the editor of most of the sites, blogs and things like that, and this page is kind of weird because it was created before I joined the company, and it has been updated with a few things, like I added a couple of Telegram groups and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But it also gets translated. So if you go to the French version, because I don't know if people know, but you can actually see the site in English, German, Spanish, French, Portuguese. I think that's Russian, and I think that's traditional Chinese, but I could be wrong. Actually, no, that looks like Japanese. My mistake. I apologize to the Japanese nation for just dissing them. But anyway, it's translated into all sorts of languages. So it is a little bit complicated to update, but I can do it. So I will make sure you get put on there. I'm really surprised you're not on there, because I did update it a while ago. See, Australian is on there.
Okay.
Well, that is a boo-boo, and I take full responsibility for that. That's my mistake. Well, you're here now, so they're not getting their QR code put up in the top left-hand corner, so that you win. So let me just hide that now. Some of these groups, I don't think people realize somehow. You get people say things like, "Oh, hardly anybody uses Delphi."
Yeah.
I've had that said to me multiple times, and usually by people who have either never used Delphi or they used it like 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And yes, it could be 30 years ago next year, but a long time ago. And then they moved on to use something like .NET. And they fail to show to me why what they've chosen is better than what the Delphi was doing. And it's usually to do with a number of complicated reasons, and stuff like that. But there are 3.5 million people that I'm aware of that are using Delphi. And these groups here are representative of a very small fraction of the user groups around the world. For example, the Telegram group here, I'm actually on at least 3 Telegram groups. And the good thing about the paid version of Telegram is it auto-translates.
Okay.
So which is why I like it. So the Brazilian Telegram group, which is very active because they're full of developers everywhere, they ask their questions in Brazilian Portuguese, but I see it in English. And if I reply back in English, it translates it back into Portuguese for them as well. Now, I don't know how accurate my English to Portuguese translation is, but they seem to understand. So I'm guessing it. I mean, I can understand their questions. So I don't know. It seems to be working, but it's one of those things that Telegram do. The Skier for Delphi one is obviously in English because that's, Skier for Delphi guys speak fluent English. But yeah, Delphi Praxis, German, but a whole English section.
So
Discord.
Can I just this is the list of all the forums, isn't it? So there's
yes.
I can see the ADUG there, the Australian user group. So how, in terms of for the developer, how do you find your favorite? Because when we run our meetings, the good thing about the members is that they act like aggregators. So if they see something interesting, they'll put it in our news and interest on our private Slack, and then people will go and they might even summarize it. So for instance, for these talks for this session, there's a little summary thread going on. Don't go and have a look in, even though you can. Do you subscribe to all of these?
Well, the answer to that is yes. Do I follow all of them is the correct question. And the answer is no. And the reason is that this is only a small fraction of the other ones I'm involved in. For example, in the past week, I've done videos like, talking up someone's event or something like that. For Brazil, and I've done one previously for Japan, and obviously there's absolutely no point in me looking at a Japanese user group. The time zone doesn't work, and also I mostly cannot get any translation from it. But I also have only so many hours in the day that I'm awake. And if you take, for example, the Facebook groups, there are multitudes of Delphi Facebook groups. I would imagine 10 or more minimum, and some of those groups have hundreds of messages, and some of them have 1 or 2 every week. I can't pick, I can't participate in all of them. The ones that I find the most useful, the ones that I personally think are the most supportive. I just made someone an MVP a while ago. He calls himself Delphi Coder. is actually pretty well known. And Thomas, his name is. He's based in France, although he's German. And he is kind of on the border. But the reason I chose him to be an MVP is because he's a Discord guy. And he's very heavily active. So my policy since I became, developer advocate or developer relations or whatever you want to refer to me as, is to pick other people who look like they're good champions and make them MVPs. Some people are already MVPs like yourself. Dave Nottage, also excellent. His forum on Slack, Delphi Worlds, is incredibly good. And if you're into mobile development, then Dave's one is the one to go to, because Dave does a lot of mobile development, but he also produces Castry, which is a very popular library. And they're just people who hang out there who are making Delphi apps for mobile all the time. So if you're going to write mobile apps and you've got a question, ask it there, because you're going to get someone who probably has come across the problem before and has got the answer. But Discord, I do hang out in a few of those groups relatively regularly. There's Darian Miller. I think he's got a couple of groups, not just on Discord, but a few others as well. Darian and I don't always see eye to eye, I have to say, but quite different personalities in all sorts of ways. But his groups are excellent. He's a very good MVP in terms of how he corrals those, and he's always good on blogging and things like that. Everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah.
So my personal feeling is that my job is to try and make myself obsolete. Not obsolete, but irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that's by picking people who are good at this social media and manage those, and that's how I do it.
But I'm quite an old developer, and went back in computer days and things like that, which a lot of people may never have heard of.
Loved it. Yeah.
You could consume all of the content, and I actually found that when the support groups and started moving on to Facebook and such like, I found it quite disturbing that I couldn't keep up with everything. And there seems to be a shift between, just through the sort of huge amounts of information that are available, from then people being sort of engaged to more, Googling, searching, finding the bit they need, moving on, and not really leaving a sticky presence in that particular place. And so anybody at all that's sort of just starting out with Delphi or struggling, I really encourage them to try and find a community that's small enough so that people get to know you, and put yourself out there, ask the question, say what you can do, and then when you actually have a question, because a lot of we have a lot of questions that are very simple, and a simple Google will sort it out, or a simple ChatGPT will sort it out. But then when you get sort of into the more weeds of what you're trying to achieve, there's often lots of layers. And so for the people in our group, so I'll say, Rob will pose a question, and I already know what his coding style is, and I know aspects about how he architects his systems, and so he will probably get hopefully a better response from the group, because they've already got a bit of his a bit of knowledge about how he works, and that works the same for all of them. So it's Delphi Praxis is the one that leapt out at me there, which is something that I found that there's enough depth and engagement. You don't feel stupid for asking a question. It's not the sort of Stack Overflow where it's like, how dare you come here and ask a question in that stupid way? It's been asked before, and you should know. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
And in fact, that is something that I try. One of the things I do is try and say to people, remember where you came from. Because like yourself, I've been around for a while as a developer, and I never forget what it was like to not know things.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there is this kind of make myself feel better by being horrible to someone's attitude, which I don't know whether it's a character fault or whether it's, just generally people believing it's okay to be like that. But if you're on a help forum and someone asks a question, the forum should be called "There Are No Stupid Questions."
That's right. Yeah. And even if it is stupid and naive, or that it's been asked before, or whatever it is, then if you don't have anything nice to say, then just
there is one person at the moment who's definitely a beginner developer, although he claims to have worked in other languages, but I don't know. The questions he's asking make me think that's probably not true, but my guess is that they're fairly young, like a student, and that's my guess. I could be completely wrong. They could be like 85 years old and just starting out. I don't know, but they often ask. I'm not going to say what platform they're on, but they're on a fairly active platform, and they ask some questions which you kind of go, oh, you don't get it. Someone will give them an answer, and then they try to start answering other people's questions to help. I admire the fact they're trying to help, but the answers they were given were completely wrong. Absolutely, like 100%. And so I'm trying to politely say to them, only answer the question if you really know that the answer you're giving is the right one. Don't just do it because you want to participate.
Yeah.
And they got a bit offended, but I think they've got over it now. And now they are a little bit more, engaged in a way that makes sense. And one of the hardest things for me is to set the tone right. I've done it wrong. I make mistakes, and sometimes I'm going to offend people. Sometimes I'll say the wrong thing. Sometimes the company might be annoyed at me. In their defense, Embarcadero have never said to me, I'm going to turn my screen off, by the way, and so we go back to big me and you, because I think we're there now. But Embarcadero have never said to me, don't say X or Y. There are secrets I know, obviously, because I know when a version is or isn't coming, and I know what feature we're going to put in, and those are business secrets in the sense that if we give our hand away, every competitor out there, whoever it might be, is going to emulate us or try and beat us to the post, and that's a business secret. That's different from having a secret for the sake of having a secret. And in their defense, they let me pretty much say and do what I want, which I don't know whether that's reckless or not, because I can sometimes say the wrong thing, but that is the way they are, because I've tried to, since I started, is encourage people to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Email me, contact me. If we are doing something you think is dumb, or there's something that people struggle with over and over again in the user groups, if you get a new person or whatever and they're struggling, and you think, do you know what, why don't Embarcadero do X or Y? If people tell me, I am actually able to talk to people who can make a change. Whether we can do it practically is another question. That's something completely different. But we are not Microsoft. No. I guarantee I have a problem with Skype at the moment. Like, Skype has got a bug where if you get spammed by one of these crypto spammers, and if you then say block because they're spam, and you block the contact rather than the chat group they've added you to, you cannot get rid of the notifications. They keep sending you notifications from contacts you've blocked, but you haven't blocked the chat. And there's no way to go to the chat because they own the chat, and it's a bug. And I can tell you now, I know some fairly senior people at Microsoft, and I can go to them and say, this is a really bad idea. But I'm lucky. It's because of the role I have, and I know some other people. But, and I'm not dissing Microsoft here, because they have a huge different business model. There are many, many, many multitudes of size bigger than us. But trying to get through to someone to get an answer, or to even just have a open up a dialogue is very difficult. Not with us. Not with Embarcadero. I keep putting my email up and saying, email me. Email me, contact me. I mean it. Even if you think that what we're doing is absolutely disgracefully bad, or I'd rather people tell me, and I can then go and tell other people, because obviously we want people to be happy. We can't give away the product for free, stuff like that. But where we can make a change, if it makes sense, of course we'll make a change. It's and that's the difference. And I think that's helped reflect out into the user groups and things like that. That I didn't have anybody try and pin me up against the wall last time in the Delphi Summit. So I'm doing okay so far. I'm quite a big guy, so I'm not that.
In the Netherlands, they seem to have an awful lot of user groups, don't they? Very, 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 very active there. We're always trying to work out how and I understand why it's sort of not a closely guarded secret, but how many developers there are in the UK, and whether we reach them. So we also sort of, well, I say worked with, we sort of tried to collaborate with Grey Matter, who's the UK, one of the UK distributors, and throughout, I think the user groups and the European distributors possibly work together. But in terms of that list that you've got there, that's not user groups per se, is it?
No, it's more online communities. but I am going to do a list of user groups.
That'd be good, because there used to be many years ago. There used to be a user group of user groups. Which yes, because when I started getting involved in the administration of the UK developer group, it had all sort of fallen by the wayside, I think. Yeah, and it's great when you find, you sort of speak to another organizer of a user group and say, so what how is it, and everything on the outside looks fantastic. They go, do you know, it's so difficult to get people to come and do talks, and everybody has a talk in them. All of our developers, all of our members you'll speak to someone and say, I've got nothing to talk about. And you speak to them for 5 minutes and you're like, oh, well, there's a talk and that's a talk. And, a developer will have found that as a problem and the fact that is a problem. And so
we've all got a shared trade,
Yeah. And we've solved the same problems, different in our group. We are a Delphi user group, but that was Delphi and C++ builder. But we also sort of cover other things that developers have it.
Yeah, I know you do C# and a few other things as well, which is fine.
But even down to tools that are sort of ancillary to. Well, in fact, we had a talk about buying and selling IP and buying and selling companies, because that's somebody had an interest in it. They'd done some research in it. They're a Delphi developer, and so that was that came up. And I think I sort of keep coming back to this: the difference between being engaged and contributing versus Googling and searching is that if you Google and search, you only generally find things that you're looking for. And the job of the group and having a diverse set of talks is, I'll listen to a talk about a certain technology, and it's not actually my bag. It's not necessarily something primarily that's interesting to me, but there's always something that you take away, and we get to see code, and so there's always oh, hang on, what did he do then, or what did she do then, and you can get some information from that. And so I think that's one of the really important things about being part of a community and not just looking through the lens of what you're trying. Oh, my camera's gone a bit.
You've gone into soft focus. It's decided you need to be more beautiful.
It's this posh camera. Look, it's perfectly focused there. It's auto focusing.
I see.
I
have a fixed focus 4K camera, so
should I turn my camera off for a second and turn it back on?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, it'll probably work its way back out.
Maybe not. No. Okay. Fair dues. You're gonna have
we'll over. There you go. It's trying to focus.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So
my point about engaging, about everybody, whoever you are, try and find a tribe to engage with, to talk about your things, and from the group's point of view, we're always looking for new members from who are just starting out with Delphi, all through to sort of people who are coming over from other environments. Yeah, and I hope that there's I hope there are sufficient sort of communities out there that because there used to be prior to sort of COVID, there was or a while before that, there was the meetups, and they look like for Delphi.
Well, Orange County user group do use Meetup as well.
Okay.
And they've started increasing their numbers again as well. I think they said they doubled their number recently, which it's not as exciting as it sounds. It wasn't 1,000 to 2,000, but it was good. And the possibility of different user groups meeting virtually, so they meet in person and then meet others virtually at the same time, is also doable as well, because I think that kind of cross-pollination, because there are trends and fashions in different countries in development. Because like in Brazil, they use horse a lot, T-horse, for web hosting, which is their thing. And almost every second talk, even today, the talk included horse. I noticed is as a microservice, and that is because one of the top people there is the author of it. But it's a great service, but it's not something that's used as often in the UK, I think.
No.
And a few other, I'm not so sure about the US, but even the US, it's, I don't know. I get people say things, oh, we should start a Dallas user group. And I'm like, okay, how many users are there in Dallas? And they're like, I'm in Dallas. Oh, okay. I never had any idea. But I mean, you know, we're not stupid. We know that things are not like the Borland days. We know that. But we are improving, you know, and we're picking up. The last quarter, we sold more than we've ever sold.
Wow.
And of them, a certain percentage were new users, like completely never used it before, which is the key.
Yeah.
And also we know from the CE edition, we deliberately released that early. We normally wait a year and do that. We did 12.1 early, and it definitely you're not going to fix it.
I'm going to try and fix it. You keep. I'm definitely going to fix it.
I'm going to pretend I'm drunk.
We'll change cameras. Look at that.
Oh, there you go. See, that works.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you know, the community edition has made a big difference. There are a lot of people adopting it as well.
So can I just frame that as well, because you know, one of the functions, one of the key functions of a group, you know, and having sort of an organized group is connecting people, you know. And so I have a sort of I have a sort of database in OneNote, and I have a mental database of people that know things and, you know certain things, and join them up, especially people who sort of prospect and come along to talk, want to, or are considering joining the group. You know, I'll sort of always try and have a chat with them and see what it is what their thing is, what their shortfalls are in terms of their skills or whatever, so we can marry that up. But we do get this sort of this you know, I don't bite. I see lots of people. Glenn is fantastic for biting on the Facebook groups when someone pipes up saying, you know nobody's using Delphi. You know,
don't give him anything sharp. Because
we have this thing that sort of you know, I'll get every so often a company will say, look, you know, we've got this line of business system, we've got that, you know, and we've got 3 developers, we can't find developers, so we're talking about moving to C#. And then I get on the other side, I get Delphi developers saying I can't find a job. Yeah, and it doesn't often happen, and we've been sort of definitely instrumental in joining some people together that have needed those. So both things can't be true. You know,
no, that's exactly what I said in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something about that as well, which is related to that. When I joined, I obviously came with my own baggage about Delphi and stuff like that. And 2 things were very obvious to me. In fact, 3 things. First of all, I felt the way we presented the products was wrong. I felt that we emphasized too much on the little technical, hey, we've added this to Delphi 11.3 and this to 12.0, and we focused on some features that a new developer is never going to care about. Oh, you've got a split editor. A new developer goes, sounds great. And, you know, so my focus was more on saying, here's what you can do with Rad Studio. You can create apps. You can do this, and this. Secondly, if you open the IDE, there was no welcome getting started. You know how you get these little wizards, which I actually hate, but they point to things and say, if you want to turn the camera on, click here. If you want to go and turn the microphone on, turn it. And the IDE had none of that. But not only that, it didn't have any videos anywhere that said how to create an iOS app, how to create a Windows app, how to create a Mac app. It did have, and this at the time when I took over, a very long, in-depth video, which was, I think, an hour and a half long, about MVVM, model view model, and another one about dependency injection. Nothing wrong with them, great videos.
Good topic.
But if you are just starting out as a developer, you look at that and go, oh my God, so is that what I need to know? No, I just showed, you know, this morning, there's a Windows app, there's a Mac app, no code, and it animates stuff around. I think that's what I try to focus on. So now when you open that welcome page, down the side, there are all those videos, hour long, saying, you want to create an iOS app? Here's how to do it. It won't tell you, you know, how to create the new Facebook or Instagram, but it will tell you how to get to the point where you've got a Hello World app that runs on iOS from scratch. And so that was part of the baggage I brought. The other part that I said was, where are all the educational establishments that are breeding new developers for us?
Yeah.
Why are there not people out there like me pumping out many, many videos and also going and approaching schools and colleges and saying to them, why are you teaching them the hard way to do things when you could do it with Rad Studio and Delphi a lot easier? If we give you a free community edition, or we get you take part in the educational program, which is like, I'm not sure, I could be talking the wrong value here for the price, but I think it's like $500. You get X number of licenses for the school,
Right.
and that's it. You know, you just install as many as you need. I think I don't know how many it is, but it's a lot. And
Is
for a
that
school,
worldwide?
500 is not much. You know.
No, is that worldwide? Is it all
believe
regions?
Well, I don't know. I don't actually. I don't know. I know what it is in Brazil and the United States and the UK. So,
Oh.
but yeah, there's an educational program where if you're a school or a college, we will do a deal on certain licenses. But you can use the CE edition; it's perfectly capable.
Yeah.
You know, for schools, but it's harder for them to, you know, get work in and put in labs and things like that. School labs. Schools tend to have labs nowadays. You know, not Labradors, as far as I'm aware, anyway. But you know, science labs. But that was the other thing that I said. You know, if we keep putting out videos that appeal only to existing developers,
Yeah.
we'll go out of business.
Yeah,
We won't be here in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because I don't want to talk to a room full of guys that look like me. You know, I want to talk to a room full of the guys that were on before, the Brazilian guys.
Yeah.
You know, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you know why? Because in Brazil they have a guy called Landerson Gomez. His only job, I mean, he does other things actually, but his only job is to get Delphi taught in school, and he's very successful. So they've bred a whole bunch of high school students and college students. Oh,
that your dog?
You know how to program in Object Pascal. It
Yeah.
was a language invented to teach people how to code. So why are we not? You know,
It's,
I don't know.
it's,
Anyway, so that's there's a lot going on behind the scenes about that. And,
It is a
and there will be a lot more coming. Believe me.
it is a slow ship to turn, isn't it? Because if you've got Dr. Kevin Bond coming on at some point, who spoke to the group at length about, you know, he was heavily involved in academia in the UK and trying to sort of get Object Pascal, you know, used, and it was part of the syllabus, and then it sort of dropped off the syllabus for certain exam boards. And I think give you're right there. You've got a dog.
Yeah, I just evicted the dog.
Yeah.
He was just about to start banging on the door and barking at me. Yeah.
So I was saying that sort of you know, if you have a template for engagement with you know, I would go along to a university or a secondary school and do a talk, do a demo, do a, you know,
Exactly.
It's almost where to start. A few years ago, I went and looked at the Coders Club, which is used in academic and sort of clubs and hobbies. Yeah. But it's almost like for the small user group, or for the, you know, for the I don't know, the site that's got half a dozen developers or whatever it is. It's quite a big ask, or it's quite difficult to sort of, you know, get at the organization to go into those institutes. Yeah. So it'd be lovely to, and I know the members of our user group, that you know, the people that keep putting their hand up to do talks, and it's not because they like the sound of their own voice, it's because they like sort of communicating information. Yeah. And so I think that'd be good. You know, that'd be very, very positive.
We've taken on an additional person specifically for education, and their job will be to reach out to because we realised there was a gap, and you know, like I say, I've got a lot of respect for Embarcadero. There's not a single person I work with at Embarcadero I don't have a lot of respect for. They're all really, I know it sounds cliche, but they are all very passionate about the product, and they really care. And certainly also on the product side, and marketing and salespeople, they're going to be passionate, otherwise they're not in the right job, are they? As marketing salespeople. But it just isn't just them, it's the product, and, you know, admin, and even the general manager. They're all like that. and it's like working for a kind of startup in some ways, the way that they are so enthusiastic about it, and you know, they do listen. You know, when I go back and say, oh, I met a bunch of people in Amsterdam, this is what they said. I was on a thing with Jason, and he told me this and that and all the rest of it. They hear, you know, they listen and they pay attention, and I respect them for that, because they don't have to. Idea is huge. You know, it owns companies which own other companies. You know, it's massive, and its job is to make money for its shareholders. I get that. And without Idea's involvement, there would be no Rad Studio, because at the time when they bought the company up, I don't know, I wasn't around, but I understood that things were not great. That's, you know, as an outsider looking in, it didn't look like things were going well. And Idea probably saved them from, you know, going under. So, and certainly there's absolutely no danger of that now. You know, it's definitely not in that area. And, you know, we talk about TIOBE because that's one of the few indexes we can look at, but you know, it is actually somewhat of a gauge of where we're going, in the sense that we are going upwards in that index and becoming more popular. And the reason is the amount of engagement with people like you out in your user groups, people in the community, GitHub repos, videos like me doing it, but not only me, but all the other dozens and dozens of people that are doing it as well. It all contributes towards that, and it does feel like, dare I say it, a little bit of renaissance. People have started going, actually, I didn't know you could do all that with Rad Studio.
Yeah,
you know, and that's the difference. I think for many years we focused on the wrong things. Instead of focused on what we can do with it, we focused on the minutiae of how to do something, and new users don't get that. They go, oh, what's that? I don't understand it. I'm not a Delphi person, so I'm not interested. Well,
yeah,
that's changed, you know.
for sure. Cool. So, well, I look forward to speaking to the new person who's that'd be great. Have a chat with them about
education. Well, I don't know who they are. I've been that busy with the stuff. I know that it's recent. It's only in the last month and a half. But it, you know, it's definitely going to happen. Okay. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add before we call it a day?
No, other than
your QR code back up again, so make sure.
Excellent.
So they scan it.
Fantastic. If anyone's got any questions, you know, or anyone wants to sort of talk about setting up a group in their country region, or you know, anyone wants to come along to one of the meetings, the first meeting is always free. We're getting back into face-to-face. We'll be meeting in London in September. Yeah, get involved, get engaged. Don't just Google. Don't just ask the questions. You know, sort of get engaged, find a community. That's what I say for
for sure. And you know, I appreciate what you do. You know, I mean, I obviously sound like I'm always like kissing up to everybody when they're here, but I mean it. You know, you and I talk frequently, and we have some fairly sort of direct conversations about things as well.
Yep.
And that's great. I want people to be, you know, straight with me, and I think you get a straight answer back as well. I think that people, you know, as you said, as I said, you met me in person. What you see is what you get, and I think that's true of the developers as well. We all want the same thing. We're all working on the same side, and so let's try and do something about that. All right. And we're two Brits, but technically I'm an American now, you know.
Well, I sort of I consider myself Welsh, so in fact neither of us are. Yeah, we're both.
My grandfather was Welsh actually as well. Yeah, he was Williams. He was John Williams was his name. So yeah, I forget where he was born, but it was. I mean, he's been long dead. He actually died on the steps of St. Paul. Of all the places you're going to die somewhere very famous. He had a brain hemorrhage and dropped dead on steps of St. Paul in the 60s, just before I was born. So there you go. But yeah. Happy days. I want to die somewhere famous as well, but not until I'm about 175. So, because by then I'll have saved up for my retirement, and I've had 2 years of retirement.
What, 175? Well, I guess
I've worked it out. I'll be safe by about the age of 170. I can retire then. That'll be good.
stop buying things. Stop buying trinkets and toys and bits of development stuff.
Oh, but that's so much fun. I keep
Shiny.
calling my daughter, she did a university thing, and I describe her degree as my Tesla. And actually, we worked out the other day, her cost of her degree is probably 3 Teslas. So not that great. Well, there you go. Welcome to America, y'all.
Very
All
good.
right. Well, on that note, thanks a lot, Jason.
Okay.
And I'll talk to you another time.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers. No worries. Bye. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. My dog is barking because he really needs to be let outside, and nobody's available to let him outside. We are done for today. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can bring my dog in so he'll stop distracting me. Come in here. Oi. Yeah, he won't come in. Never mind. Lannister Gomez makes it happen here in Brazil. Bring Delphi to AJ. Yes, I mentioned him. It is Landerson Gomez. I've got a lot of time for Landerson. I think I'm meeting him in September. I'm not sure. But he's a great guy. Adele says that Skype was originally directing Delphi. That is actually correct. He was, which is really good. But it's not anymore. They went to .NET, and that's when it all went horribly wrong. So that's right. It worked fine in the Delphi version. And Paul McGee says, do you want it to be a surprise, Ian? What to be a surprise? I missed what that was. So... Yeah, Paul, you have to let me know another time. Paul is very active in the Australian Delphi user group, so I'm sure he'll ping me at some point. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much, everybody. We're going to call it a day, and of course, if we're going to do this, let us play this. We'll play out with this. I'll see you again tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. US Central Time. 4 p.m. UK time and 3 p.m. UTC, or whatever time we started today. But for now, we'll play this.
A program where the code was the codified lyrics to a song, and then the output was the actual lyrics to the song. So much like Walt Disney created Fantasia based on classical music, I've created a special musical number based on the music of Jonathan Colton.
Code monkey, get up, get coffee. Code monkey, go to job. Code monkey, have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say code monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do code monkey think? Code monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code monkey not say it out loud. Code monkey not crazy, just proud. Code monkey likes Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man with big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you. Code monkey hang around at front desk till your sweater look nice. Code monkey offer buy you soda, bring you cup, bring you ice. You say no thank you for the soda, cause soda make you fat. Anyway, you busy with the telephone, no time for chat. Code monkey have long walk back to cubicle. He sit down, pretend to work. Code monkey not thinking so straight. Code monkey not feeling so great. Code monkey like Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man, big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you. A lot. Code monkey have every reason to get out this place. Code monkey just keep on working, see your soft pretty face. Much rather wake up, eat a coffee cake, take bath, take nap. This job fulfilling in creative way, such a load of crap. Code Monkey thinks someday he have everything, even pretty girl like you. Code Monkey just waiting for now. Code Monkey says someday, somehow. Code Monkey like Fritos, Code Monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code Monkey very simple man, big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code Monkey like you. Code Monkey like you. Code Monkey, get up, get coffee.
This is actual Object Pascal code and was recorded in real time. You can compile it with Delphi or App Method and run it on Windows, OS X, Android, and iOS. The output is the original lyrics to the song. The code will actually work as a console application as well, and so in theory could work on other platforms like Linux, etc. Just in order to make it shared code, I made it a GUI application. I hope you've enjoyed this special musical number, and my thanks to Jonathan Colton for making and sharing this great song. You can download all my source code for this song on my website at delphi.org/codemonkey. From there you'll find links to download Jonathan Colton's song as well.
Thanks a lot, everybody. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m. US Central Time. Bye-bye.